Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it comes from a translation of a message that one of our sister received, and the translation of that message, it reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? Can you please post my own story as anonymous? So I am a lady who is aged 45 years old. I used to work as a nurse, but then I made money after I had visited this other West African country. I went there not because I wanted to do rituals the first time. When I went there, I was an innocent Christian woman, in which right now I do go to another Pentecostal church, but I only go there so as to pretend. But deep down, I am a child of the devil. The devil is who I worship because of what happened when I was still there in that Western African country. So it all started when I used to go to this other church. It's not like it is a bad church, even though I won't mention the name of that church. So this made me to be very interested in going to Western Africa, because I had heard that a lot of powerful preachers, they were coming out of those countries and they had power. And at that time, this was after I started watching this other channel, a God channel, and I was always glued to the TV. When I was not home, when the prophets will say touch the TV, I would rush to the TV, and then I would be touching the TV as he will be praying. And then there was this other prophet who once preached, and when he was preaching, I felt like fire was moving through my body. And then I said, I need to go there. I organized a trip, and then I went to Ghana, used most of my savings, and then I traveled all the way to Ghana with hopes, because I had my child who was very ill at that time. So we could not understand what was going on. We were told that he was supposed to have a ceremony, a traditional ceremony that was going to be done on his behalf so that he can be okay, because it was said that there was someone who had bewitched my child, and the only way was for a ceremony to be done. And it was also said that he had the calling of the ancestors, and he was still too young to go there. And I had spent a lot of money on these sangomas, and none of them seemed to be helping me anyway. So I said it is far much better for me to return back to Christ. I then returned and I confessed to my pastor that this was what I had done. I had tried and visited some sangomas, but the situation had gotten worse. He even told me that it was by the grace of God, for the Lord wanted to show me that He is much more powerful than all of these traditional healers. So it was all up to me for me to return back to Him. I then made a choice that let me return back to Christ with all of my heart, and I repented, and then I started watching all of those channels again, believing that my son was going to be okay. I then went to Ghana. When I went to Ghana, and that prophet was prophesying and preaching, but what hurt me was that I did not have the chance to have a one-on-one with him because of the situations that were happening. There were a lot of people that were there that needed his help. So I waited for my turn, but then in the end, I saw that there were people that were paying money so that they can have a one-on-one with this prophet. And whilst I was there, as I was walking in the market one day, and then I saw that there was a place where there were people that were selling some herbal stuff. I said, since I am already in this country, let me try to hear about my son's problem, if there can be anything that can be done. I spoke with one man, we negotiated. He was happy when he heard that I was South African. In his eyes, I think that he saw money that was written all over me, yet I was just struggling financially. I told him that I just wanted help. This man, at least he was not a daylight robber. He assisted me, and he took me to another voodoo pastor. Yes, there are those pastors that use voodoo magic. He even made it clear to me that this pastor that he was taking me to, he was a pastor that was still trying to get famous, and he was still at his most powerful, and he will be willing to assist me. He even wanted through me to start his own church here in South Africa. I went there, and then I was given what he called an anointed snake during an evening church service. So what he does is that if he has an international visitor, he has an evening church service with you from 11 until 12. You'll be just sitting even in his living room, and then you'll be just having some Bible discussions. That was when he took out a snake, and he said this snake, it was almost like the Moses snake, and God, he even said that God is a reptile, God is a snake. That is why he instructed Moses to lift up a snake so that the children of Israel, they can be healed. So it meant that God does not look like us humans, but he looks more like a snake. He pulled out that small python that he made me to handle, and he said, this python is a snake that eats other snakes, so take it. It is an anointing snake, and you have to swallow this snake. When he said that you have to swallow the snake, even though it was not too big, but it was almost a meter long, I said, how can I swallow something that is still alive? How can I swallow this snake? He then said, trust in me and trust less in the Lord. Look up to me as your Moses, and then you are going to be able to have your healing. Through you, your son is going to get his healing. So I took that python, it looked at me as I was looking at it, and then I felt my mouth as if there was someone that was holding my jaws, and then my mouth started opening up on its own, like 90 degrees wide open, and this snake started moving towards me. I felt this snake, even though it was not painful at all, it was quite wonderful as this snake was moving down my throat, and I felt it settling into my intestines until this very day. That is where this snake lives. Whenever it wants to come out, I vomit. It's not like I vomit the snake. I can just vomit just some little foodstuffs of things that I would have eaten earlier. Then later on, I'll see the snake sometimes on the lawn. Then I'll know that in the evening, when it comes to me, if I agree to sleep with this snake, then it will vomit money, and that is the money that I use in my several businesses. Because when you do not have a spiritual backing, it is quite hard for you to start a successful business, because there are times when things can get really hard. So you need money that can just come out of nowhere. So that is what I chose to do at that time. As for my child never recovered at all. Rather, I became this occultic person that I am right now. But there are times when I do face problems, because this snake, it sometimes comes to me and then it wants to sleep with me, and I do have challenges that I face soon after sleeping with this snake. If it happens that I sleep with my boyfriend, he suffers from some STIs that cannot be cured at all. I just blame him, saying that he's sleeping with all of these young girls and threaten to take away my money that I have given to him. But the reason as to why I am keeping him, his blood is clean. That is why it is easy for me to use him during my rituals. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our admin who helped us with this translation. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world.